I'm going to make a little hostess gift. It's going to be in the form of an ornament that you can use as a gift tag or something to tie around a wine bottle or a tea towel or something like that. So I'm going to show you my favorite trick for how to make a double-sided ornament or earring or whatever that involves a secret. So stay tuned for that. Let's get started. I'm going to mix some clay. I have Sculpey Primo white granite and a little scrap of rose gold, and I'm going to mix them together, maybe half of this rose gold into here, just because I'm not sure how much it's going to change the color, and I just want it to be slightly warmer and a little glittery. I have Primo bronze for some accent, and I have Sculpey orange, Primo Sculpey orange, and I'm going to use my fancy cutter here to make a flower, so stay tuned for that. And I have some sparkly mica compact and a stencil. I may pull in some other tools, but that should do it for my vision. So I'm going to go ahead and condition some clay and mix this color. All right, I'm all conditioned, and this is the color that I have. It's just slightly off from the white, and I did not use that whole chunk of rose gold glitter. I used like maybe half of the chunk, which is just a small amount. And here we go. We're going to put that on the dreaded glazed tile. Nobody likes to use glazed tiles because, and that's correct for most applications, because it is going to leave a shiny side to the clay. And in this case, we want it, and you'll see why when it comes out of the first baking. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a stencil. My stencil's a little dirty, but that's okay. It's not going to transfer to the clay. I'm going to use a stencil. I have enough room here to do two sides of my ornament. So I'm going to go ahead and put this stencil on here and make... Sorry about the noise and stuff, but it can't be helped. I'm going to make a nice firm impression here so that I get texture and the design. Our stencils are 10 mil, which is quite thick. And I'm going to go ahead and use my finger and this sort of champagne color to decorate some of these stars. And since that's going to take a long time, I'll be back. Here's another trick. Makeup brushes. That wasn't working as well as I wanted it to with my finger, but it works really great with one of these soft foundation type brushes. And that way you waste a lot less powder because it's really just sticking right to the clay. And I'm going to see where I need to decorate so that I don't kind of overshoot it. That should be good. And then over here, we'll do same deal. Much quicker than using my finger. I don't know, for some reason I like to use my fingers usually, but if it's going to take a really long time because it's not the best coverage, then I will go ahead and use a tool. So these makeup brushes are great. I collect them. I get them at places like TJ Maxx because they're always really inexpensive there. Let's make sure I've got good coverage on all of the parts that I'm going to cut out. Of course, if I don't use up all of the area that I'm covering, I can always mix the powder back into the clay. It's not that big of a deal, but I don't like to waste, so I'm good. So we'll remove the stencil. Ooh, look at that pretty design. Show it to you. And cut out two ornaments. So this one will go here, I'm going to try to line it up so that it's relatively straight from top to bottom. Grab my acrylic block because I find this a lot easier for cutting. And I want the ornament to stay stuck to the tile. I'm going to line this one up more or less straight top to bottom as well. And peel up the rest of this because I can roll it up and use it for a pair of earrings or another ornament or whatever. And just roll that mica right back into the clay. The amount that I have on there is not going to make much difference in the color. But I definitely want these to stay right where they are, stuck to that glazed tile. So now we decorate. I'm going to leave the back of one of them pretty plain because I'm going to cut a flower and shape a flower from this orange clay. So let me move that closer to me. All right, so these come as a set of 7 pieces so that you can always pick the right size for your project. And the size I want is going to make a flower on here that goes kind of from side to side, maybe with a little overlap so it can kind of come off, or maybe I want it to be smaller so that you can see the ornament behind it. So that is up to you. I think I'm going to go with the slightly smaller one, and I'm going to go ahead and punch out a bunch of petals. Now these are part of our basic drop collection at Create Along, and the reason for that is because they also make fabulous earring drops. And I pulled the smaller one this time, and that's okay because I think I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be using multiple sizes. And these cut so well that this doesn't want to, it wants to stay in there. Hang on. Okay. So let me get back the one I was using, this one. So just cut out a bunch of petals. So I just wanted to show you this because I have this little tool here. We have lots of stainless tools at Create Along, and this one is called the Wonder Tool, and it's perfect for this. When your clay gets a little stuck in a small cutter, these stainless tools are slippery, but also strong enough to gently push it out without leaving a mark on the clay, especially in a spot where your finger can't get to, can't reach it. So I think this flower is going to be sort of like a mum, reminiscent of a chrysanthemum or daisy or something like that, with multiple sizes of petals arranged around in a circle. This clay is pretty stiff too. I had to put some Sculpey clay softener in it. It just was very, very stiff and didn't want to move too much out of the package, which actually I think is going to be good for this project because it is going to be kind of a sculptural flower. So let me move this. You can see because the clay was so stiff, it's kind of like stuck to the work surface every place where I cut. And it's not going to want to go back into a ball. So let me just okay. Now I have one more trick to show you about making flowers like this. I'm going to need a little rope, a little snake of clay. It could be a snake, it could be a donut. If you made it a donut, it would look like this. We'd make a ball, flatten it a little bit, and then take a tool like a larger ball stylus and kind of make a depression here. Let me get closer. Depression in the middle and make it pretty deep and wide, and keep making it bigger. Because the purpose of this is to have a place to press the petals down in the middle and then have them kind of drape over the side. So I think it could either be a snake or it could be this kind of donut shape. And then I'm going to use the donut. I'm going to put it off center. And before I attach it completely, I'm going to make a little, maybe a couple little accent stripes of this color on the background of the ornament before it gets kind of all covered. By flower petals and stuff. So just think about what's going on behind before you sculpt something onto there that you can't, like, then you can't get behind it. Perfect. Now I can highlight that with a little bit of this color. Okay, and we'll build the flower. So for the flower petals, I'm going to pinch this out a little bit. Burnish those fingerprints out by rubbing. And I'm thinking I'm going to put like a little bit of a vein down the middle. And then press it here and let it drape over. So each petal is going to get a little bit pinched, a little bit burnished, and have a vein down the middle like that. And then be pressed down in the middle and draped over the edge. This is a great way to get fingerprints out. Just press firmly. And it removes most of them. People ask, how do you get rid of fingerprints? Burnishing. Either with your fingers or wearing a glove or whatever you need to do. I'm not worrying too much about that mark in the middle because I'm going to put these smaller petals in the middle as well. So you can see here that one kind of draped over that decoration that I added, so I'm glad that I did that. I think I only need one more petal on this outside layer. Right here. I might even kind of bend that one a little since I know this one's going to cover that. Yeah. Okay, and now we'll just do the little ones, maybe make that easier, just give it a little pinch, because the clay was set to, I think, a number 3 on my pasta machine, so it's a little thick. I'm just gonna, that one has a mark on it. That one does too. I had some scrappy stuff on my pasta machine. Maybe we'll just do 6. There were 7 petals on the outside. Maybe just do 6 on the inner. I'm going to give this flower a center, so I'm not too worried about what this looks like. As I'm pressing, it's kind of making it pop up and become more dimensional, which I like. This one, I'll use a smaller tool because it's the last one. I see fingerprints. Get some more of that out and press this right here. Okay, and now that accent color again, I'm going to put a little ball in the center. And with my ball stylus tool that I have here, just give it some texture. Super cute. This is the back. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp something on there. If you had some letter stamps, you could write thank you or grateful or some other word that you might want to put on there for your gift. That's up to you. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tool to make a largish hole here because I'm going to put this on a ribbon. So I do want the holes to be bigger than, say, if it was going to be an earring, so that a nice ribbon can fit through here. Okay, and now I'm going to bake these right on the tile, and we'll be back. All right, I am out of the oven. This, by the way, is for the Clay Play Stay retreat that I'm hosting in March. If you want to know more about that, you should come to createalong.com or clayplaystay.com to sign up. So here we go. These are warm and fresh from the oven. And this is what I wanted to show you. This is a really nifty tip for you. I discovered this a while ago when I was making some double-sided pendants. So you'll see now that we have this flat back with shiny spots, right? Exactly what you don't want if you're making a jewelry piece. But what happens with the clay here is that when I put this together, it instantly wants to stick to itself. It's like some kind of static capillary action thing. So now it is stuck to itself. It's almost hard to pull it apart because of that shininess on the back. So someone with a physics science background, comment and tell me what's actually happening here, because I'm fascinated Totally fascinated with the way that happens. So it's on there. It's stuck unless I try to peel it apart. So what I'm going to do is take advantage of that, and instead of having to glue this together, I'm just going to edge it with some of my favorite paints that you might have seen in my last video. This is Ranger Liquid Pearls, perfect for adding accents and stuff after your clay is completely baked and finished. So all I'm going to do is apply this as a decorative edge. Almost like it was solder, you know, like how you can make a solder pendant. I'm just gonna kind of solder the edges of this whole thing with a bead of this. It's in a fine line pen, so you might have to apply it and spread it a little bit. And if you wanted to come back, which I may at the end, after it's dried a bit, you could make more like a prettier bead or little dots to make it look more like that soldered edging. But that's it. Like, I don't have to glue together or fuss with or do a double bake on the clay pieces because of that immediate tight bond that they form because of the shiny backs. So think about that if you want to do, and I used to, how this came to be is I used to do double-sided pendants and actually solder them together with glass flux solder. Long ago, when I lived in Austin, it was something I was experimenting with. So I'm just gonna apply this bead of the liquid pearls to the edge and let it dry. And put a ribbon on it and call it complete. And since I'm using the liquid pearls, maybe I can even add accents here to tie the design together. That's up to you. You could even put a little bit on the edges of the petals. I like this paint. It's a lot of fun. It's just a little detail at the end. I'll put a link to it in the show notes so that you can easily find the paint if you want it. It's not something that we sell at Create Along, but everything else in the video is. You can get the pretty stencil and the cutters, all of the metal tools at createalong.com. Ooh, there we go. We'll do some of this flower line veining on the petals. And let that dry, put a ribbon on it, and now you have something really fun to hang from a bottle of wine, tie around a gift, and your friend or yourself can decorate with this for the holidays. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Polymer Clay TV, and I'll see you next time.